Why is there so many people worried and talking about April 2nd? Well, today we're going to discuss what April 2nd means, where billions upon billions, hundreds of billions of dollars are impacted, all because one major change. We're going to discuss what this administration is talking about when it talks about April 2nd. Also, we're going to talk about the judiciary injunctions. It's amazing how many injunctions have come against Biden and Obama compared to Trump. The thing is, the injunctions against Trump is all about who appointed them and what they're going against. It's lawfare against the president. We knew what was coming, but the numbers will astonish you. And we're going to talk about a Thomas Jefferson quote that he warned about this. He warned about this even when he was helping make the Declaration of Independence. He said, look, be careful of the judiciary because we're giving them too much power. Whew, it's a big deal. We'll talk about that. Also, we're going to discuss our debt. Now, what we don't realize is this year, and Scott Bessent made a comment about this, and also some other economists, Ray Dalio talked about it, that trillions of dollars that we have has to be refinanced, has to be changed, has to be updated this year. Now, this is some of the problems of the past administration, and now we're having to figure it out. Who's going to buy our debts? How much of a problem could this put us in? I think that's why you're seeing the talk of recession looms for Wall Street, but I also think that's why you're seeing so much talk about cutting taxes and also adding tariffs, because the refinance of debt will come at a pretty big cost. Could be shocking. We'll talk about what Ray Dalio said and also Scott Bessent said about this debt and how hard it will be to deal with for this year. Let's dive into these stories and a few more. Some of these stories will be mind-blowing to you. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, we ask that you please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up if you like the content. If you don't like the content, tell us why you don't like the content, what you disagree with. But also comment below, tell us what you think about this, and kind of let's go a little bit deeper. Comment section is really good because it helps us grow together, gain a common sense, and talk amongst ourselves to build community. We want common sense, we want wisdom, and when we all work together and we all are talking and building community, it helps us understand the issues maybe a little bit more. So please make sure you are commenting below. Now let's discuss some of the things that we talked about in the intro. First, April 2nd. What is April 2nd and why is the Democrats and the rhinos and also a lot of economists up in arms about April 2nd? Let's read this announcement coming from Ludnick and Trump. It says, Trump set to unleash trillions of dollars in new tariffs. Biggest move yet in American first economics, meaning he is putting America first and now it's got people up in arms. The Trump administration is gearing up for massive new rounds of tariffs starting April 2nd, worth trillions of dollars. First and foremost is $800 billion is already hitting China, Mexico, and Canada. But the next wave, April 2nd, will be massive. And $800 billion will look to be a dwarf to this new stimulus coming from tariffs. Experts say this could make the last 2 months look very mild. And with this push, you're going to see leverage used by the Trump administration. Now, why is this a big deal? Already Canada and China is trying to get trade complaints with the international courts on Trump. What this is showing is panic with China and Canada and a lot more leaders across the world. Why? Because what they're realizing is America is not playing games anymore. We're not going to be at a trade deficit. What we don't realize is if we build so much extra tariff, you're leveling the playing field for the goods coming in, where goods in America can be coming back. We'll onshore most of manufacturing. There's already been signs where there's been several big players in electronics, automotives, and also in tech. Onshoring, meaning they're coming back, bringing their jobs here. It is bringing revitalization to manufacturing and industrial parks all over America. Already, signs have already been shown. We've been talking about it for the last few weeks and months, and you could go back and watch a lot of those videos. I know Samsung was coming back, also another electronics company that was based in China. Also, a lot of the manufacturing that was in Mexico and Canada is now starting to open plants and put more of their manufacturing here in the hubs they already own. That was more distribution. Now they're going to become manufacturing, because now these businesses are realizing It will save them money to actually onshore it, make the jobs happen here, and not just try to import their goods. That is a game changer. Now, April 2nd is a big deal because of this. Trump is pushing for these kind of tariffs, and even Scott Bessent said, yes, we want to make sure the recession does not happen, and we want to make sure that we can ease into these things, but at the same time, we have to get very serious. Just like I was talking about in the intro, what we don't realize, and Ray Dalio brought this up, and I want to read the quote that he said because it all comes together, it all weighs in, and it's very important that we understand this. He says, Ray Dalio has said that a severe U.S. supply and demand problem could be a shocking development. He's talking about the supply and demand and also the tariffs, but listen to what he's talking about. The U.S. has to sell a quantity of debt, meaning we have a lot of debts that are coming up that has to be refinanced. There's a lot of debts that are coming up that needs to be renegotiated. So part of this tariff push, I think, is Trump saying, look, we're not only going to negotiate the tariffs, we may use this as leverage for the debt. We may use this extra money, hopefully in revenue that comes in, to help fund some of the debt problems that we're facing. Not because Trump caused the debt problems. I believe the last 70 years have caused the debt problems. But what Scott Bessent and even Ray Dalio said what we saw with the Obama administration was the spending got huge. And the fact of printing got huge. It did not become autonomy from the Fed. The Fed almost worked as a second branch to the executive powers, which is a big deal, meaning they spent way too much money, and now we're having to deal with the ramifications of that. The problem is the economy is not growing enough to cover the debts that we had. And so Ray Dalio said, look, we're going to have to refinance these debts, and we got to find a home for these debts, and nobody wants our debts because of all the problems we cause across the world. So I think that's why you're seeing the severity of what Trump and Bessent are doing with all these tariffs is they're trying to make sure it goes really quickly and make sure the leverage is there, so that way when they have to negotiate the debt side of this, the revenue side will already be there, the tariff side will already be set up to where that gives them a negotiating ploy. Now I believe that there's going to be 200% tariffs on several countries. No. I mean, I think it's there, and I believe that it will happen, especially for a week or two if these countries don't play ball with us. But I think what it is actually used for leverage against, trying to balance our revenue and balance budget, but also to worry about the debt, the issues that we gotta have when we start refinancing some of this debt. Ray Dalio said that it is imminent and of paramount importance that we don't look at just a supply and demand issue or an inflation issue. We look at the problem of debt. And debt, remember, Ray Dalio came out and said at the first of this year, I don't believe Elon is cutting enough. I don't believe Trump is cutting enough. Now, this is coming from a hedge fund manager in the stock market that's made billions that absolutely did phenomenal. Scott Bessent comes from the house of Stanley Druckenmiller, someone who is brilliant when it comes to the stock. And all these people that's dealing with the stock market said, look, we've made plenty of money there. We know the stock market's going to get hit. But if we don't find a balance of new revenue and more money coming in and also try to fix the debt, we're going to have a problem. Now, what Scott Bessent said in a podcast yesterday, he said, what people don't realize is we don't have not enough money coming in. He said, but what we're trying to do is build upon the fact that we are still making lots of money. Our problem always comes down to spending. He said, now here's the kicker. Can we stop spending? I mean, look at the judiciary, and we're supposed to talk about the injunctions, but he said, here we are cutting the budget, and the judiciary is wanting to put the fraud and money back into the hands. They're wanting to hire all these people back that we've already fired. So we're having to work against the judiciary. So now, not only do we need to cut spending, which is not hardly getting done because of Congress and because of the judiciary and the lawfare, he said, so therefore, even though we're making enough money, we've got to build more revenue and more money coming in to help cover the problems that we're facing because we're not cutting like we should. We're not balancing our budget like we should, and we're not working hard enough against the lawfare against Trump. Not because it's Trump's fault or Bessent's fault. He said, we're dealing with the problem that everybody thinks spending is a good thing. Even though we've shown them fraud, even though we've shown the dangers of all these, inflated government, he said they're still wanting to spend that money. We're still wanting to allocate money that we don't have. So the only way to fix that is to leverage and have tariffs hit these other areas. April 2nd is going to be a big deal, and Trump is already putting it up. Trump is already pushing, saying, you thought the last few weeks and months were bad with tariffs? You wait. I'm fixing to majorly put tariffs on countries all over the world. I actually like this. Why? Will it cause for animosity and hatred towards America for a little bit? Probably. But at the same time, what it's doing, it's ruling with a big stick. What he's saying is, we're not going to allow people to take advantage of us and the American people anymore. Even though our judges in Congress are still trying to do it, the executive branch is working to actually benefit Americans. Think about the JFK file release. Think about, look, FBI. There's 10 most wanted. We've always had the 10 most wanted. You know that? We've never caught the 10 most wanted. Every time we knock one off, it's like, well, one comes back on, and every 3 or 4 years, the FBI actually does their job. In the first 2 months of Kash Patel, they've caught 3 of the FBI's most wanted. Do you realize that? Since January 20th, they've caught 3 of the FBI most wanted. So what we're seeing is the promises that the executive branch made are actually coming true. Now, should we hear about the other files with FCC? Yes, all that's, I think it's coming. Here's the thing. When you start seeing the fact of the tariff talk, you start seeing the fact that actually the people that Trump put in power is actually doing what they say, that's exactly what we voted for. Voting for tariffs means we have to understand that there's going to be some animosity towards America. But to be honest with you, it's only going to benefit Americans over time. What do we talk about? The threadbare cliche. I can diet and exercise, and boy does it suck. Boy do I want that piece of pie. Boy do I want to not work out and I just want to sit around. But to be honest with you, diet and exercise helps me get to my optimal body of what I'm wanting, my optimal look of what I'm desiring. I have to go through the hard part to make for a better future for myself and my health. Well, we're in that same situation where we've got a bad predicament. We're a fat, chubby government, and we've got to go through the tariffs. We have to go through the leverage. We have to go through the animus to get to a better situation. Because if we don't, like Ray Dalio said, it's the imminent warning is if we do not find a buyer for this debt, meaning if we don't refinance and have buyers and not just keep printing money. Again, it's not a revenue problem. It's not that we don't make enough. It's because we cannot cut spending because everybody's scared. If we cut spending, then all of a sudden everybody's losing their entitlements or losing their benefits from the government. What we're trying to do is cut the fraud. Until we cut the fraud, though, we've got to build up more money to cover the debt and the problems that we have. So that's why you're seeing Trump talk about April 2nd. That's why you're seeing him talk about the highly leveraged situation. That's why you're hearing him talk about tariffs like no one's ever seen. Because not only is he threatening it, he will do it unless he can use it to lever the debt or lever the spending or curve the problems that America is facing. This is actually this is really a catch-22. We all look like we're going to lose in the whole situation, but the only way that we're actually going to come out of this is that we either highly push these tariffs to cover the cost, or either we cut spending so much that it puts us in a recession. We're in a bad spot, but I do believe that April 2nd actually is a good thing because it's going to help us either negotiate our debt, negotiate our spending, or either build up tons more revenue to help cover the problems until we can start fixing the spending issues. This is a big deal. I want to read this quote from Thomas Jefferson. It says, "The Constitution on this hypothesis is mere thing of wax in the hands of the judiciary." Meaning, what do you do with wax when it's heated? You mold it, you play with it, you build it and you form it into what you want. What I think Thomas Jefferson was saying was, if we're not careful and we don't put enough freedom into our Constitution, you're going to see the interpretation in the judiciary take it and mold it to what they want. That could be dangerous. I think that's the warning that we definitely see when it comes to the judiciary. Steve Dace, which is a commentator, says, "This is absolutely unexcusable and codifies what it looks like when an institution openly discredits and uses its power in the wrong way." Listen to these statistics. It says presidents that did, that set executive orders, that changed policies. Listen to this. There was only 6 injunctions used against Bush, meaning there was only 6 judges that brought up charges, only 3 passed. Obama, in his 8 years, 12, and only 7 passed. 14 for Biden. Don't you listen to this right here. Trump, 64. Meaning there is that many injunctions, that many activist judges pushing against him. Now, why is it literally quadruple any other time with any other president? 10 times Bush, 5 times Obama, and 4 times Biden. Of the law review, 67% of all injunctions this century came against President Trump in his first term, and 92% were imposed by Democratic appointed judges, meaning they will go after him in one way or fashion. Well, they realize they cannot do it when it comes to the Congress, because the Congress is weak. Actually, Schumer kind of broke, and actually he's caused him and Hakeem Jeffries a little bit of a problem. The Democrats' approval rating is low. So what other way can they actually go against Trump? Well, it didn't work against him with lawfare before he was president. Now he's president. Listen to this. I want to go back to this statement by Thomas Jefferson. The Constitution on its hypothesis is mere thing of wax in the hands of the judiciary. Means they are molding and making and defending and interpreting what they want to, when they want to, when it's against someone that they don't want. They're literally telling you, listen to this now. These judges are not saying, well, we want to abide to the Constitution. They are literally trying to keep Venezuelan gangs here. They're trying to keep men and women's sports. They're trying to actually spend money that is known as waste, fraud, and abuse. Remember yesterday's report with Bill Gates and Soros and that money? They're wanting to allow that money to still go to those NGOs. So every injunction actually works against the American people. I want you to listen to that again. These injunctions are not about your freedom. This is not about someone bringing up new regulation. This is about making sure that you're getting protected and our families are getting protected. And every one of these injunctions, every one of them, go down the list, is about spending your money, wasting your money, going to fraud, knowing that we have already said this is going to fraud. They're still wanting to use it like USAID. Wanting to hire people back that does not need a job and that was basically wasting our taxpayer dollars. Wanting to go to billionaires and NGOs so they can use it for special interests. And also wanting to keep gangs and illegals here that should not be here, that broke the law. Every one of these injunctions are against Trump in that facet. Thomas Jefferson was right. When we don't protect our freedoms, lawfare and the judiciary can ruin it. Now, again, my press is on Mike Johnson, on Congress. You know, Trump does need to ignore these. He needs to make sure he ignores every bit of it. And Justice Roberts is not a friend of Trump. But here's what can happen. Mike Johnson can bring impeachment charges against every one of these activist judges. These judges have ruled on foreign. Now these are district judges. These are low judges now. They have actively pushed for reform in the foreign policy. That's not in their expertise. They shouldn't be ruling on foreign policy. They're ruling on military and U.S. Air Force and making sure that men who won't have surgeries can be women, that we have to cover that. Are they experts in medical or in the Air Force? No. Also, they're trying to spend money to the NGOs that we were sending to foreign aids that is known as fraud. Make sure we understand this. These judges need to be impeached. And then if they've been caught, like for instance yesterday, if you go back to my video yesterday, go watch it. If you did not watch it yesterday. Because it talks about how that money that he was trying to allocate actually benefits his family. That's a conflict of interest. If you find that, disbar them or put them in jail. Simple as that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this video. April 2nd is a big deal. We need to pay attention to that because it deals with the debt and also money made by America. We need tariffs more than you can imagine because, like Ray Dalio said, without tariffs and without understanding to make more money, we better cut trillions more. And if we're not willing to cut it, then we better find ways to make more money, because if we don't, no one's going to buy our debt. And we're going to be looking at inflationary money even to a point of no return or a massive depression. Either one is not good and it's of the imminent importance. And then lastly, let's go back to what Thomas Jefferson said. If we don't watch out for our freedom, then these judges will mold our laws into a ball of wax, into whatever they want it to be. They can take that wax and make it whatever they want to make it because we've given them power. And this will come back and bite us, basically, is what he said. Guys, let me know your thoughts. God bless. Be free, be free.